Hey, it's Sarah here. Thanks for joining me for this episode of MLM Marketing Explosion. Do you have a hard time knowing what to post on social media? If so, join me for today's episode.
How are network marketers like us supposed to rank, advance, and build a downline without begging our friends and family or having supermodel good looks? My mind was blown when I realized that the top network marketers aren't calling their friends and families to invite them to lame hotel meetings and in-home meetings. I've spent the last 2 years learning from and dissecting the system that top earners in the industry use. Follow me on the journey as I continue to learn and implement the top marketing tips and strategies to grow my downline. This is Sarah Peterson, and you're listening to MLM Marketing Explosion.
I have people tell me all the time that they have no idea what to post on social media. They don't think that they know enough. They don't know what to post. They're kind of lost in this sea of confusion. And I totally get it. That's how I was too. When I first started out on social media, I started out with an account that had about 400 friends on it. Now, I'd only jumped onto social media because someone had said, jump onto social media. It's a great place to start a business. But I didn't know what to do with it. To be totally honest, all I did was throw in friend requests, a bunch of people that I'd known from high school and college, and then I sort of left it alone. I didn't know what to post. Sometimes I would post things and my husband would look at me and go, why did you post that? That was dumb. And so then I get really self-conscious and I delete it or whatever. And so it got to the point that I was like, forget it. I'm not going to post on here because I didn't know what to post on there, right? Because I just thought that if I got this account, all of a sudden people would jump in and want to be part of my company, right? I thought that's all I had to do was set up an account and it was gold, right? I know some of you guys are probably laughing right now, but really that's what I thought. I didn't really know anything about social media. In fact, I had actively avoided it for years. My husband had set up an account and I had done nothing with an account. I hadn't even had a Facebook account, right? So anyways, I jump into this world of online social media. And to make things even not more or worse, but I'd had this Instagram account that my family had said to set up because that's how they were sharing photos. And I didn't even know how to use it. Like I'd been able to post 1 or 2 photos and then I couldn't ever figure out how to post again. And I didn't understand what Instagram was. So, I had nothing, right? I didn't know how to do it. My knowledge of like Facebook and Instagram was, well, not even Instagram. I literally did nothing on Instagram, but I'd go into Facebook when I was bored. So if I was, waiting in line at the grocery store or, if I was at dinner waiting for dinner to be served, which is so terrible to admit, right? Be present, right? I know you guys can flood my messages telling me to be present, but sometimes I'd do that because it was just habit. I'd be bored. I'd turn it on. And so, I'd look at everybody posting about their kids doing all these amazing things. And I'd post about all these wonderful activities that they were doing. And I didn't feel like we were doing anything amazing. I mean, we didn't have money to do that kind of stuff. They say fake it till you make it. And I'm thinking, I don't even know how to fake it till you make it. It's almost like, I know I've seen one circulating recently where they're showing a picture that they took through a milk carton, like the handle of the milk carton, and they're saying, here I am on my way to wherever, right? It's like that tongue in cheek. But, that was kind of my experience with Facebook. I didn't want to interact. I didn't think I knew anything. I didn't think I knew enough to get on there, right? Let alone who would want to join me, because on the outside, everything looked dandy. But on the inside, if you really looked at what was going on, our finances were tanking. Anyways, now flash forward. Now I'm figuring out that to make social media work, I just have to be on there. I have to make it work. It's a skill that I've got to learn, right? So I jumped on there and I was like, I don't know what to post, but all these people are posting motivational quotes, right? So I'd jump on and I'd find a picture that had a motivational quote and I'd think it was amazing and I'd throw it up. Well, lo and behold, it's the same motivational quote that 5,000 other people have already seen and are throwing it up because it's an amazing motivational quote, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with, I used to have a mentor that called it motivational fluff. I've realized that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And there were so many times that I held on to that, quote unquote motivational fluff, and it got me through some rough times, right? But if I just slap up the same old quote that everybody's looking up, when you type in motivational quote, and it's the same quote that comes up every single time anybody, pulls that quote up and I slap that up, doesn't really make me stand out, right? It doesn't make me be a leader. It just makes me be somebody that can Google, find an inspirational quote on the internet. And I also learned that it didn't really make me stand out, right? It wasn't showing anybody who I was. So probably one of the single greatest pieces of advice I ever got was document your journey. And I had no clue what that meant when I first heard it. I was like, document my journey. But and this was where I also had our time with, because you don't want to post negativity, right? Nobody wants to come onto Facebook and be bombarded with negativity. And lots of times that's what happens, right? And it gets to the point you're like, you know what? I cut the news out of my life because I didn't want to hear the negativity. I don't want to hear the negativity from you either, right? Have you ever felt like that? So, anyways, as I get in there, it's like, I don't know what document my journey means. And I didn't want to really let anybody in. And I've also realized that documenting your journey is hard because you're starting out, you're finding your voice, you're finding what makes you you, and how can you use that to connect with others, right? People want to know who you are. They want to know that you are real. When there was a quote that I posted up a couple weeks ago that was, I gotta preface this by saying that a lot of the people that I'm friends with are into health and wellness. They're into fitness. They've got it all going on, right? They'll post pictures of their broccoli and their salad and their kale and whatever they're eating, right? So I felt the pressure of, you gotta post. You just gotta post. You gotta make this post. And I just come back from the grocery store, and again, don't ever go to the grocery store when you're hungry. But I had bags and bags that I bought of chips. They were on sale. I was starving. I bought these chips, right? And as I threw them on the table when I got home, I was totally laughing because I think I had like 6 bags of chips. I had like, the Cheez-Its and, whatever else I had on the table. And I took a quick picture of it, and my post was something to the effect of, judgment-free zone. Yeah, don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry, right? Well, you guys, that was so relatable. It was seriously a post that I threw out because I thought that I had to post something, which don't just post. But so I was like, whatever, I'll see what happens. And I really didn't expect the response that I got. And I got so many comments on that. So many people laughing and saying, oh my goodness, I have been there, done that. I totally had that happen. Oh, yeah, don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry. Yeah, I know how that turns out, right? And all of a sudden, instead of being the stupid post, it ended up being something that everybody could connect with. All of a sudden, it made me human. Have you ever watched a movie where the main character dies and you're like, huh, about time? I hate to admit this, but we watched a show, I don't remember when it was, but the gist of it was this tornado. They were trying to stop these bank robbers from robbing this bank. And by the end of the movie, that movie could not end fast enough for me. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was it just seems so long. And now when it started out, it had potential, right? But then they didn't develop the characters. And to be totally honest, by the end of the movie, my daughter and I were looking at each other going, we want the bad guys to win. We want the bad guys to steal the money. You know what I mean? It was terrible. And the reason we felt that way, and nobody died in that movie, I don't think. Maybe they did, though. That's really how unforgettable it was. But, have you ever watched that movie and somebody dies and you're like, all right, okay, bye, on to the next thing. And that seems so callous and so heartless, but it's because they didn't develop the character. So I didn't care about the character. So it was like, and it was a movie. That's different than real life, because in real life, even if you don't know the person, you care. But when you're watching this movie and they've done this whole plot and you don't care, they did something wrong. There's something called the hero's journey, where they talk about, they use this very effectively in movie scripts. Is it Man's Search for Happiness? Is that what it's called? There's one in particular that I really like. There's a bunch of them, but you've got like the Will Smith one where, he's down and out, he's homeless, he starts selling, I can't even remember what machine, he's sleeping, with his son in the bathroom, and they're locking the doors at night, and then he ends up being able to sell it, and it changes his life, and he's able to work on the stock market or whatever. Or even, something as simple as like Hitch. It's the underappreciated nerd who wants to go out with the girl, right? And you're totally rooting for him because he's the underdog, and you're like, yes, we want him to get together, with a really hot girl. We want them to date. We want him to go out. We want him to get married, right? Because you see his back struggle. You see how badly he wants it, and he can't get anywhere, right? Nobody wants to date him. He's that awkward kid. He's that, you just, your heart just hurts. You're like, please, please, please. There's so many movies like that, right? I'm sure you could throw them out. Some are comedies, some are dramas, but they show you that backstory. They show you that struggle so that you love that character, right? You care about that character. and you want that character to succeed. You want him to have everything, right? You want it to turn out, you want him to have that happily ever after. Well, some of you guys are so scared. I was so scared to let anybody in. You're so scared to let anybody see that backstory that nobody cares. And again, I don't mean that callously, but you want people to care. I didn't used to tell anybody what we'd gone through. I didn't want anybody to know that our house got foreclosed on. I didn't want anybody to know that I was gathering bottles because I needed money to make sure that we could get milk. I didn't want anybody to know that. And to be honest, it's still hard for me to talk about. I still don't want anybody to know. And yet, when you have those struggles, it makes you human and it makes you real. Some of you guys are waiting, like I was, to jump in when you're the hero. You're waiting to jump in until you have it made. You're waiting to jump in until you're at the top of the company, until you're traveling, to the beaches of the world or going on these big ski vacations. But it doesn't work like that. You've got to show people your journey, document your journey. Now, I'm not going in and saying that on the really bad days that you're going in and telling everybody about the really bad days. In fact, I highly recommend against it, because if you're in there always saying about how everything's hard and you're struggling and it's not working and blah, 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 they look at it and they go, well, wow, if they can't even do it and they're as cool as they are, I can't do it either. But what I'm talking about is document what you're doing. Maybe you did try something and it didn't work out the way that you thought it would, and so you did something differently. Share that. But don't be afraid to let people in. Everybody deals with something, whether it's finances, whether it's illness, whether it's kids that you're scared you're not raising like you should be. Whatever it is, whether you're dealing with insecurities and anxiety and feelings of wondering if you're good enough. First of all, I'm going to tell you, you are good enough. Secondly, you're probably wondering if your story is even worth documenting, right? Nobody wants to hear about my story. Nobody wants to know this. This isn't fun. It's not exciting. If I was traveling, if I was going on cruises every single week, somebody would want to hear about that, right? No. For starters, for how much you don't think you know, there's people that are looking up to you every single day saying, if only I knew what they were doing. If only I could do what he's doing. If only I was more confident like she is. If only I could talk to people like he does. If only I had, whatever. And you're looking at yourself going, if only I had, right? But you're forgetting where you came from. You're forgetting that there are things about you that are so amazing and so unique and so fantastically you. And that's why people are going to follow you, is because of you. Be okay with documenting your journey. If you go to the grocery store and you come home with 5 bags of chips, hey, just keeping it real. I came home with 5 bags of chips, and yeah, I already, opened one up and I'm eating it right now, right? I ate it on the way home. I was starving. When you do something quirky, document it, because it's relatable. It makes you human. It doesn't mean that you go in and say every single time something fails, but let people see who you are. Let people know that you're real, and share with people what's working. Let people into your life. There's something, that's how you create relationships. That's how you create friendships, is if I can share something that's important and special to me, and I trust you enough to share it, then it almost reciprocates straight back, and all of a sudden you trust me enough to share something with me, right? And now we create a friendship, we create a bond. You go from being somebody that's way out of everybody's league and, is just out there on some cloud, you know what I mean? Like the distant guru that you could never be, to being somebody that's, wow, really? They went through that? Or wow, that's, how they think, or wow, that's what her life really looks like. And like I said, I'm not talking about showing the good, the bad, the ugly. But don't be afraid to let people know your story. Don't be afraid to document your journey. Because if you wait until you're that expert, if you wait until you've got everything that you want, nobody's going to care, because they don't understand what you struggled to get it. They don't understand the journey and the heartache and the day-to-day grind and those days that you worked even though you had no clue what you were doing, and even though you weren't even totally positive it was going to work, and you went on pure faith alone. That's what's going to inspire somebody. Doesn't matter if your stories are not identical. What matters is the feelings, and that you're willing to share it, and that you're willing to let people in your life, and that you're willing to help them out. And in some small way, your story is going to inspire somebody. So don't be afraid to share it. Don't be afraid to document your journey. Write your own inspiring quotes. Go find something that inspires you. Talk about it. Share your journey because you have something that nobody else has, and that's you. Thanks for watching today. Go ahead and share this with your friends and like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.
Are you tired of bugging your family and friends and bumping into the same people all over social media trying to pitch your opportunity? If so, grab your team members and go to www.marketingexplosion.org and pick up your free copy of MLM Momentum. It's going to teach you how to get people coming to you and applying for your opportunity. It's also going to teach you how to get paid for prospecting. See you soon.